pleased to be joined today by Aaron, Head of Talent Acquisition at Vertical Aerospace. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. As you said, I'm Aaron. I've been in recruitment for 12 years now, predominantly within engineering and big tech. I've been very fortunate to work for some of the global leading brands within that space. I've now probably got, in my opinion, the best job in the world, which is leading TA at Vertical Aerospace. So I'm currently the Head of Talent Acquisition, as you said. If you haven't heard of Vertical, so we're a startup company based in Bristol, and we are doing something that I believe is going to be revolutionary. So we're pioneering electric aviation, something that's never been done before, so super exciting. And I really like the fact that I'm back in Bristol. That's where I was born and sort of where my roots are. So yeah, good to be back there.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. I think as we talked about the general theme for the podcast series that we're doing at the moment, which you're kindly taking part of, is all talking around the cost of not. And I think the idea behind that is that in the current sort of climate that we've been in, particularly over the last couple of years, there's been a huge kind of focus around conservation of resource, and it's become, I think, increasingly more tricky to access said resource, whether it be for hiring or just generally getting budget to run on what might be considered to be value add.
Yeah.
And I thought it might be interesting to explore with you guys kind of particularly around what would happen, what's a really interesting kind of programme of work that you've launched, that you're working on. Explore that and then think, well, actually, what would be the cost if we didn't do that? Whether it be next week, next month, next year, talking around the cost of not doing said programme of work. So almost turning it on its head a little bit. So with that in mind, I'd be really interested to hear, maybe a little bit about something that you might consider to be something a bit different that you've done, that you kind of got investment for, and we'll kind of explore that a little bit and then go into the what if you didn't.
Yeah. As I mentioned, I work in a startup company, and for anyone who's working in a startup company or has worked previously in a startup company, you're going to understand that the way that you approach recruitment is really different to how you would approach it in a established global enterprise or much bigger business. So for us, the way that we have to approach recruitment is it's extremely fluid. And what I mean by that is where we are working towards designing, building and certifying an electric aircraft, we're very laser focused on a programme, and we have certain milestones that we need to hit within that programme. And like with any programme of work, there's always areas where you need to pivot, change direction, reconsider what's priority, and that really is true for recruitment as well. Mm-hmm. So it's fluid in the sense that we're often having to sit down with the exec, with our hiring teams, and go through our vacancies week by week and make sure that this is still needed and this is still priority. So the reason I can't give you that background is that hopefully it will make sense as to why we came up with this concept that I think certainly anyone who's watching this and is listening, hopefully it's something that they may be able to think about. Could they apply that within their teams or within their company, or even come up with something slightly different as an evolution of this. Mm-hmm. So the concept we came up with is what we call best athlete. And effectively, it was a way that allowed us to regularly, in a more structured way, put the best talent out there on the market in front of our executive team. And what I mean by that is, this is a concept where we don't necessarily need to work to normal recruitment conventions. So this was about working outside a budget, mm-hmm. not necessarily having a defined job or role that we need to go and hire for, but really going back to basics. If you think about what talent acquisition is, it's acquiring and identifying great talent. And that's what this best athlete concept has allowed us to do. So it's given us the ability to go and find that special talent, the talent that you come across, every kind of couple of years. Exactly, the ones that you just think, if only I had a way to present this to my, executive team, that they would be engaged, want to listen, and would see the value in it. So that's why we came up with this concept. And I think since we've introduced it, what we've seen and kind of what we've learned is that there's been a real mindset shift, mm-hmm. not just within the exec in terms of them kind of realising that we can add value at this kind of strategic level when we're really looking ahead at what does the next 3-5 years look like for our business from skills and capability point of view. It's also changed the mindset of my team. I think when you're a recruiter, it's really difficult sometimes to kind of take your head out of the operational delivery that you're doing every single day, and actually to kind of look ahead and kind of go, okay, so what actually does the kind of future evolution look like of our business? And this concept has kind of forced us to do that, but I think in quite a creative way. I think what has also worked really well was setting expectations with the executive team to sort of say that this is not going to be normal run-of-the-mill hiring. So we're not going to be coming to you with 10, 20 candidates. Like, if we make any hires with this new concept that we're introducing, but they're probably going to be 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah.
And I think that's really helped us to kind of elevate the proposition, but also demonstrate that when we do come to you with these people, we need your attention, we need you to be present, and we need you to consider this seriously, because this is talent that will significantly have a massive impact on the future state of our business.
And was there a bit of a mutual moment between, say, yourself and the execs where you defined what would be an athlete to them? Because I think it's I'm sure probably many would agree that if they went to their execs and said, I've got the best person ever, you've got to meet with them and hire them outside budget, they might get a very different answer to what you've got. So I'd be quite interested as to how you define that for them to kind of be on board with the idea of doing that.
Yeah, I think within our business, I think we're quite fortunate that because it's very sequential in terms of what we need to do. So it's already mapped out, the next kind of 3 years. Everyone in Vertical is very clear on what that looks like in terms of, milestones that we need to hit. For example, first of all, we needed to design and then build a prototype aircraft. Once we've done that, we then need to put it through rigorous flight testing and then be able to certify that it's safety critical, working with authorities and obviously other suppliers to be able to achieve that. Then we know the next evolution is about them manufacturing the first 5 or 6 units of these, these new aircrafts. So I think for us, what had helped was that we were very clear on what that strategic roadmap looked like. But I think it is really important to make sure that you are aligned with your executive team on that. So that's definitely something that we did spend a bit of time on, is being really, really clear on, okay, so what does that look like? And then if we talk about workforce planning and sort of future skills mapping, how does that sort of sit in line with what the business needs? And I think having that clarity has helped us to be really clear on, so if we come to you with someone that we're coining as a best athlete, we're able to sell them and market that person in, but in a way that resonates with what the business needs and the language that they're going to respond well to.
That's awesome, thank you. And I guess turning that on its head, because you've kind of outlined that you've got the business thinking about future skills and future talent as opposed to just current hiring demands, which I think is no mean feat really, is it? Given the demands of scale anyway, and sort of typical hiring demands in a business, I think there's often a big educational piece around even that part, and kind of how you're setting up for talent acquisition. So it sounds like you've done some really, really cool stuff there to even get them to that place.
It's been a journey.
Yeah, and especially with the best athlete piece, then you've got kind of bringing in some really awesome people for them to meet with, but only I think it sounds like there's a lot of trust there that's been built to be able to bring the best to do that. But all that being said, what do you think would happen? What would be the cost if you didn't do any of that? If the best athlete concept hadn't been coined, and those conversations weren't happening with the execs?
I mean, the obvious point is kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, is that it's accelerated a much needed mindset shift within my team, but also in the executive team as well. And I think it's helped us become much more mature to the challenge that is in front of us, not just now, but in the future. So I think losing that would put us at a disadvantage. We are in a global race to achieve designing this next generation aircraft. It's probably about 5 or 6 serious players in that race. And, in any race, it's important to kind of have a competitive advantage and kind of really be looking at the prize. And I think so losing that would put us at a disadvantage, and I think we would struggle. I think in terms of we'd be able to recruit for now, but then in terms of looking ahead, I think that would put us at a disadvantage in perhaps maybe not being there first to certain skills and capabilities that we need, and not kind of predicting some of the market shifts and changes that are happening right now. I think the second I would say is make the job more enjoyable, because I think sometimes when you're recruiting, it can become, day to day, you know what you're doing, you know what your portfolio roles are, you know what you're recruiting for in terms of this skill set. I think knowing that you've got this kind of more innovative, concept that challenges normal recruitment convention, it just makes it more exciting, more enjoyable. So certainly when I speak to my team, they're buzzing to come to me and say, oh, I've got this candidate, I think they're best athlete, and it's kind of like getting them to get excited again about marketing great talent and bringing great talent to the business, and it not just being a chore or a task. So
it's a really cool way
really
to get them really sort of G'd up as well on or clued up even on what what best talent is. It's kind of that bar raiser.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's another phrase you could use for it, bar raiser. But I think we like the best athlete name him. So our chief engineer officer is from Philadelphia, and there's quite a few people in our team who are from the US. And we were talking about this kind of concept, and the best athlete name got thrown up because he was very much kind of using basketball analogies, saying that we're a basketball team, we're the Chicago Bulls or 76ers, and we want to win the championship, right? And to win the championship, we need the best athlete to come and join us, all the best athletes. And it just kind of made sense, and it resonated. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about how important it is to build that trust and relationship with your executive team, and sometimes it can be as simple as just finding that common ground in terms of you resonate on the same kind of goal and aim, and then you build the kind of strategy around that supports that, and that's where this best athlete concept came from.
So it sounds like you've got a lot of buy-in from it with the execs as well.
Oh, they love it. Yeah, no, they do love it. David gets excited whenever we talk about best athletes. I think it's because we're all on board now, and knowing that these are people that come in and are a real game changer, in terms of how they can change the game, but also come in and have such a massive impact on the rest of the population.
Do you think they'd be as bought into you and the team if you didn't have something like the best athlete?
I think they would be, because I think we've done a tremendous job of coming into a blank canvas and doing everything you would expect a TA team to do in terms of policies, structure, process, getting the balance right, speed and quality in terms of hiring, making sure we've got the right tools and technology to enable us. But I think it's these special kind of concepts you come up with that, everyone loves to get behind something that's creative and that feels like we're challenging the status quo. And even though this is not groundbreaking, it's fairly simple in its origin, but I still think it's something that just makes it exciting. I
think so often the best, the best sort of differentiators when you're doing something that's quite cool, or what a different company might not be doing, might not be that groundbreaking, but it's just that, that different layer that can add some quite cool stuff.
Yeah, as I say to my team, we're doing what I would refer to as, this is proper talent acquisition.
Yeah.
If you, like we said, you strip it back, it is just about, we go and find and identify the best talent, and this now gives us a channel of being able to put that in front of decision makers in our business that are the ones looking in the next 3 or 5 years and kind of making those decisions, and then we're then giving them the ability to kind of start crystallizing that by putting the right people in front of them. And as I said, we don't have roles, we don't have defined roles for these people, and I think that's what also I really enjoy about it. It's exciting to be like, I find someone with this skill and capability and this thinking. It's not just skills, it's thinking as well. And think of all the wonderful roles that we could create for people like that, and think of the impact they're going to have. So hopefully we've done a really good job, and hopefully I'm still with the business in the next 3 or 5 years time, and I can look back and be like, we absolutely nailed that.
Yeah, I'd love to also know that when you get to that point, because I think it's, we're kind of having all these conversations about skills and sort of making organisations skill-centric, skills-based hiring, all of that kind of stuff, and that's I mean, that's exactly that, isn't it? You know, it's bringing people into the business based on the skills and capabilities that they have to further it.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
And I think the other thing I've learned as well is that, as I mentioned, it's a very fluid business. So it's reminding me how important it is to just have that dialogue with your executive team where you are able to just talk about talent. Because I think, you know, certainly as a TA leader, you have that dialogue and you're talking to your leadership team and your executive team, but sometimes it's not actually about talent. Most of the time it's about bottom line, budget, cost, and how you're going to fix problems in terms of if people are leaving your business, right? You've got spikes of attrition. So I think it's quite nice to just have that dedicated time where you can really think about what does great look like, what does talent look like, and it's just reminding me that talent bar changes and evolves all the time.
Amazing. Well, look, thank you. That's been fantastic. It's been really insightful to get to know a little bit about about what you're doing there and also how it's driving the business forward. From a skills perspective, engagement, buy-in. So wish you all the very best of luck with your best athletes. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. It's been great to talk, and thanks for having me here. And I guess if there is any best athletes out there that do want to join what I think is the UK's coolest company, then please do reach out to me. Me and my team would be absolutely delighted to hear from you. And it is an opportunity that I would describe as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.